All right. I want to thank everybody for being here. This is year 10 for me here at Itawamba. Year 6 as the head coach. These things never get old. Going to school the other day with my daughter. She says, "Daddy, you getting nervous?" I said, "Absolutely, babe." And she said, "Well, why? You've been doing this a long time." And I said, "Well, if I'm not getting any nervous, I need to quit what I'm doing." I said, but this is an exciting time for us as coaches, our kids, you know, and just in general the country, if you think about it. I mean, everybody's getting geared up and everything, but I do want to thank our administration, you know, the great people to work for. Dr. Boggs, Dr. Allen, Coach Ball, Dr. Case over there, you know, just people that make our job really easy, you know. Sometimes you see the phone number come across the little caller ID and you look around like, oh man, what do they want? You know, you kind of get scared to answer the boss call, you know, boss man's phone call, but it's never like that. You know, very easy to work with and keep you in line. Of course, with our SIDs, Sports Information Department, you know, always keep you on the toes and interview here, interview there, and here we come. You know, so it's they always are doing that, but that's always good. You always kind of know what's going on with not only football but all of our sports and everything like that. So. And media, appreciate y'all as well, you know, being able to come out and do this. It just, you know, it always tells you football is here. Usually this is always a Thursday before we play, 7 days away, and so time is ticking for us for sure. So, but coaching staff, I know Dr. Allen introduced those guys. You know, I'm with these guys more now than probably my own wife and kids, and we always want to call these guys my friends. You know, me and Coach Williams, I guess now. We're going on year 9 together. You know, Coach Cook's year 3, Coach McCray year 2, Coach Hodsworth year 2, and I was able to hire Coach Marcelo Speaks this off season. Me and Coach Speaks have history. He actually played for me back in 2004 as a freshman linebacker at Delta State, and so it's always good as a coach. I'm able to, you know, go back and hopefully the influences that hopefully I didn't have much on him, but being able to bring a guy that I have familiarity with back on our staff and be able to hire him and coach with him, and so I'm you know, glad he is with us, done a great job. So as well as all of our coaches. But you know, starting the season, really what do you expect? Who knows? 20 sophomores, 40 freshmen. You know, as a coach, you can talk a lot about here's what's going to happen, here's how things are going to be done. They can only get it through experience, and I think that's really what our league is about. You know, you don't have 3rd and 4-year players. You got 1 and 2-year players, and so you can talk about what you're about to get into with who you play in Pearl River and East Mississippi and whoever's on your schedule, but until they really get out there and experience it on their own, I think that. You know, that's our best medicine, and we'll probably end up taking early. But I think the kids have been working hard this year. I do like our attitude of our football team. You know, in the past, you know, whenever I've been coaching, you get some that's going to complain. You get a lot of complainers. We were up this summer during our summer workouts, and we ran up the big hill toward Pontotoc Hall. You know, that's a pretty good haul getting up there. And I said, all right, let's get back to the practice field. You know, we got to walk, you know, pretty good ways back. And I never heard one of them say anything. You know, it was just, let's go back and get our work done. And that's one thing that I think our kids have really done a good job of, is working. And that's really all you can ask them to do. Is work hard and get the best, you know, whatever you have in you, give it the best to this football team. If we're looking at what we have returning, you know, I never really like to talk about newcomers because I don't know how they're going to be, you know, and everybody always says, how you going to be? I said, well, I'll let you know about halftime of, you know, here next week. I'll let you know, you know. But if you look at returning players, you always want to have a good balance of 50-50 if you can. Sometimes it works out like that, sometimes it doesn't. But, you know, having a quarterback returning in Clark Mills, you know, who bought his time last year, was a 3rd string quarterback for us, and bought his time, came in game 2 of the second half, and basically took over the reins and led our football team. Now, he had ups and downs, of course, but I think his experience going into this game is going to be a lot different than what we were last year. You know, having an experienced guy. You know, having a running back return in Hiram Waddington that ran the ball really good for us last year. Had a lot of production for us. He knows what it's going to be like to, you know, to play in this league. Cameron Orr, offensive line, you know, that came to us last year. Played all, you know, 9 games that we had. I think he took every rep in practice. I don't think he even came out of practice. And so we've actually got a little more depth behind him now, so he's actually been able to take a break in practice. But him and the guy we had last year never took a break, you know, so maybe that's why he's playing a little better. You know, he's got a little break in practice now. You know, receiving core, we have Damian Ely back. We got Augusta Cox and Jalen Gale. Those 3 played a little bit for us last year. They're going to be asked to be a bigger role this year. You know, we lost a lot of production with Jamel Thomas in his production last year. We had year before we had Terry Williams out there, so we've always had a receiver that we've always been able to go to, and that's one thing that we kind of got a lot of questions right now of really who's going to step up in that role. But we do have a hopefully trigger man that will get the ball, you know, to those guys. Defensively, you know, I've said this in preseason. I've been asked a lot of this about our, you know, we don't have any returning experienced defensive linemen. And we feel like we've helped ourselves athletically, but really the only returning guy I have didn't even play last year. He ended up having a preseason injury that kept him out for the year, and so we're brand new, you know. So I don't really know how they're going to play in a game. Hopefully that what we've shown in practice is going to come out in the game, but you never know, you know. Linebackers, I got 4 out of my 8 that came back from last year, and I hope that's going to be our heart and soul of our defense early in the year until we can work out our kinks and let those guys get some playing time under their belt. Defensive back, we got Savante Oliver. That's back for us, that played a good bit for us last year. Kenneth Martin and Jaquan Williams. So we're kind of up front in the secondary. We're a little bit young. We're a little bit green. Feel like we got really good athletes back there, and so we hope we can do that. Now, kicking game, had to replace all 3 of those. Punter, snapper, and kicker. Lost all of those. So we're breaking in 3 new ones there. So we're hopefully the you know, and I told the punter the other day, he kind of shanked a bad punt, or maybe he dropped a snap or something, was working a punt out of the 1. And so the ball's on the 1, and I said, look, your deal is when that ball is snapped, you've got to catch it and get it off. I said, I don't care where it goes. I said, but you've got to catch the snap. Don't step back out of the end zone. Catch it and get it off, you know, because here they come. And of course, snaps the ball, and that's why we practice. Snaps the ball, he fumbles around, it's rolling in the end zone. And I'm like, let me tell you something, man. I said, if this happens in a game, I said, go to the other sideline. I said, don't come to our sideline. Now, that coach says, why are you over here, son? Because coach won't let me back on our sideline. I said, so just understand that. You know, so I'm trying to, you know, and that's kind of been my rule. I told the other coaches, nobody talks to the kicker, punter, or snapper with me, because I don't want them, come on, punter. You know, I said, nope. I said, only those are mine that I get to yell at. But they've done a really good job, and you know, but just their, you know, those other guys understand those are critical. You know, that can win us a game and you know, do those things. So that's kind of where we are with those. But I'm really excited about our kids. I feel like that our attitude has been really good. They've worked hard, and I feel like that if we can continue to strive and get better each week, then I feel like our football team can go where they want to. And I think the biggest thing is we got really good leadership. You know, I think our sophomores we have on our football team now have a lot of character about them. You know, was able to spend a lot of time with them over the springtime because we didn't have a whole lot of them. We barely had a spring practice. I mean, we didn't have hardly any bodies, but was able to kind of spend a lot of time with those individually. Got really to know those guys and feel like they're really good men. And I feel like their successes are going to be a lot more after when they leave here to be successful once they move on to their next school. And you know, and I always kind of go back to that as a coach. I would look and see, well, would I let these guys, would I drop my 3 kids off and let these kids babysit my kids? Now, some in the past, I don't know about that one, but some of them I have now, you feel like that as a coach, you know, and that's always good. You know, you feel like they got a lot of character about them, and you feel like that that character's going to come out in the end. Now, we have not taken a snap full speed yet, and that could all go, you know, kind of like Dr. Allen was talking about earlier. So, you know, you can have a plan all you want to till you get hit in the mouth, then what's going to happen, you know? And so I think that's our biggest questions as coaches is how are we going to handle that adversity? You know, we hadn't had a hit yet. You know, how are we going to handle? And I said, guys, we could be up 30-0 first game in the first half. Who knows? I said, we could be down 30-0. I said, look at last year. We were down 20-6 against these guys. Came back and beat them. You know, I said, so you never know what's going to happen in this game. You've got to be ready for everything. And I think that's one thing we try to do a lot now in practice is give them the situations. You know, we worked on 2-point plays yesterday. And that might seem, well, Coach, why are you going and kick the extra points? Well, I remember 2 years ago, we had to use all 3 of them at Gulf Coast. Game 1, we had to use all 3 of them. 2-minute drill. Why do we need 2-minute drill? We had to use that one, you know, but we practice those situations. At least our kids have an idea about, you know, what's going on. Now, can we get them ready for everything? You know, we talked about it, you know, one this morning's coach. I'm like, I don't know. We just got to work ourselves out of it, you know. So that's really been our biggest thing is working our kids in situationals and know what to do and here and there. And, you know, as a coach, 2 things you worry about is your team's going to be in shape, which you feel like, man, we've run a good bit, you know. And then I don't have 12 on the field. Don't have 12 on the field. The other day I was watching Monday night. I went home to eat supper and I saw the Come On Man. Y'all seen that, you know, with the NFL and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, NFL. First time they had 12 on the field on their punt return. I'm like, whoa, I bet that coach is mad. Next time they took the field, they had 10. Count 10, then he's mad again. Then they had 11 the next time. Everybody's good with no returner back there. So the punter for whoever they were playing punted the ball, rolled like 75 yards. And you can see the coach grabbing that headset. And I'm like, man. So they say I got up next morning about 5 o'clock, just worried to death, like, man, we're going to have 12 on the field, and I'm a returner, you know. So those are just things you got to kind of get yourself ready for and prepare your kids as much as you can, and you got to let them go play, you know. And that's one thing I think that you know, want to see these kids go out and compete against another team, and I think they're ready to do that. And you know, when people say, "What about your schedule's the same?" and you know, it is, but the opponents are always different. Might have the same colors and the same helmets and the same jerseys that they had on the year before, but every team we're going to play is different again, you know. Might be 1 or 2 that you remember that you played against, but they're all new. Every team's new, you know. And so that's what we got to be ready for, just that challenge of week in and week out of getting our kids ready to go and be ready to play, you know, a grueling 9-week schedule. And we were talking about, I told them, I said, preseason is a lot longer than during the season. We look up, we got 27 practices left. Once we start, that's it. That's all we do, you know. And I said, so once they start, here they come. And I think the kids' mentality really don't get that as much right now, but I think it will as we go.